everyone, Griff Hamlin here. Welcome and thanks for joining me today. In this video I want to talk about one of my favorite of all time blues chord shapes, and that is the 9th chord. You heard a little bit of that coming into this video. And 9th chords are a great way to just add a little spice to your blues. They will pretty much replace any 7th chord, and as you probably know by now, blues is very, very heavily based in 7th chords, dominant 7th chords we call them. So anything like A7, B7, C7, those are all dominant 7th chords, as opposed to, say, a minor 7, which is a minor 7 chord, or a major 7, which is a major 7 chord. Anything that doesn't say major or minor, it's dominant. And anytime you have a dominant 7th chord, you can replace it with a 9th chord. So let's look at how you play these. Straight up, the 5th string root is the more common one, and it is easier to play. Okay, so there's a couple of things though that commonly trip up a lot of people. So let's say that my root is here at the 5th fret of the 5th string. So I'm going to play a D9 chord. And so in effect, here's what I want to end up with. I want to end up with this D here at the 5th string. I want to end up with the F sharp at the 4th fret of the 4th string. I've got my first finger on it. I need the C natural at the 5th fret of the 3rd string. I need the E at the 5th fret of the 2nd string, and the A at the 5th fret of the 1st string. And so the way I'm doing that is, you can see I'm kind of laying my 3rd finger across all of those strings, okay? That, however, is a real challenge for a lot of people. I'm fortunate my fingers doesn't seem to have too much trouble, but it's almost like your finger has to bend backwards to do that, and not everybody can do that. It's one of those sort of physical things that sort of works for some people and doesn't work for other people. So let me show you some options. Instead of getting all of the notes, the top string is the 5th of the chord. We really don't need it. So a common variation is to do the D, the F sharp, use my 3rd finger for the C here that's my 5th fret on the 3rd string, and I've got my pinky on the 5th fret of the 2nd string. And that'll get me as much as I need of that chord. All right. Similarly, if you're more into, like the little chord idea where I don't use the root, I can just play from the 4th string down, and that may allow you to use your middle finger for the bar, or perhaps, getting rid of having to do that root makes it easier to do this. I tend to do this, but my first finger is actually laying down and just muting out those lower 2 strings. So even though it looks like I'm pushing on them, typically I'm not. I'm only hearing the upper strings. And I like this because if I reach my pinky out, which is a little bit of a challenge, but I get a 13 chord. It's kind of a nice sound too, if you're looking for something a little more jazzier. And in that situation, you may want to get off the root completely. Okay, and this works anywhere. It's a movable shape. So, D9, D sharp 9, or E flat, E9, F9, F sharp 9. It's very, very popular in funk, kind of funky type stuff. And you tend to only play the top little bit, like that's an E9, but I'm just leaving all of it out. Or if you're playing like a funk blues, and what I'm using right there is a root on the 6th string version of the chord. So my root is actually down here on the C at the 8th fret. Okay, now the reason I'm using my thumb is because it's really hard to play this any other way. But you can, all of the notes, if you can try to wrangle them all in there, my middle finger would go on the 8th fret, the C of the 6th string. My 3rd finger would go on the 8th fret of the 4th string, that's the flatted 7th, the B flat. My pinky would go on the G at the 8th fret of the 2nd string, and then I'd use my first finger to bar the 7th fret on the 5th and the 3rd string. And of course, I just can't hit the top string at this point. Okay, but that's that's a challenge. I mean, to say the least, that's a challenge. And nobody plays that. Generally, we get, again, we lay off the lower two strings. In a band, you don't need them anyway. So instead what I'll do is I'll just play those three notes, the 8th, 7th, and 8th fret on the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string. Maybe I'll bar up, kind of bend that finger backwards and get the high C, but rarely. I don't do that very often. And if for some reason I need, like for, is that tightrope? So on a chord like that, like Stevie will reach around and hit the bass note with the thumb, or I'll play the top part of the chord with my 2nd, 3rd, and 4th finger, or my 1st, 3rd, and 4th finger, leaving my 2nd finger down there to play the root. But in that case, I'm just muting out the 5th string. I'm not trying to bar it. So if I need a low root, I've got it by reaching down there with, either my thumb or my middle finger. But in general, like I said, I don't use it. But on tunes like on Tightrope, there's some situations where you kind of go back and forth. I'm not a big thumb player. That's a little bit uncomfortable for me. So I tend to do that. But I can get that 9th chord pretty much all through the ones, 4s, and 5s using just those two shapes. And so really that's it. When it comes to a 9th chord, you're using either a 5th string root or a 6th string root. I don't really use anything else. So there you go. That's it. That's 9th chords in a nutshell. Try them out next time you play a blues. You got a D7 chord, play a D9 instead. It's a lot of fun. It's a great sound. Kind of really, adds a lot of hipness and coolness to your blues. So hope you dig that, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Talk to you soon.